Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Super Game Brothers podcast. My name is David, and this is episode number 26, which is, I guess, kind of like an ordeal, kind of like a celebration. The episode's
big deal
not
to
going
me.
Yeah.
Feels like it's
not
a quarter.
Be any different in any way. So, except for, I guess, you decorated just for this event, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I put this 4 up to signal that it was the 26th episode.
Yeah,
because 4 is not divisible by 26.
Right, exactly. That makes sense. That's all I learned in high school calculus. So, yeah, you just heard Devin, though. Devin's my co-host. He does the show with me where we talk about the board games and video games that we've been playing. We do the show every single week. Make sure to subscribe on the podcast service of your choice. Really appreciate you. Devin, how are you doing? You got a new Brixton hat after selling all those old black Brixtons. It's looking pretty fancy.
Oh, shoot. Sometimes when you're 5 years into wearing a hat, it's time for a new one. So you find your way to Tilly's and you hope they got a good one.
Nice.
Brixton
Tilly's
hats, they've got a fit. They've got a fit that it just works. It works for me.
I should probably try one. I feel like it works well with you, but I feel like I don't know if it would look weird on my head to have a hat that has just a tiny bit of extra space, like right there in the forehead area. It
does. It's like structured. The top of my head is not right here for everybody watching. Ain't no way.
And Devin's head's perfectly flat right behind the brim.
Yeah, it is. Look like I'm in Minecraft.
Yeah. Keeps his wallet and his keys up there. Oh, that's a weird image in my brain.
That's amazing.
Cool. Well,
Wowzers.
I'm glad you got the 4-light though. Looks really nice on the wall. You're ready for October. Are you doing anything special for October? I've been thinking. For me, this is like not important in any way, but I was thinking I should do like an Odd-tober where I play every Oddworld game, just because it's been a while since I've played a lot of them, and I haven't finished Soulstorm, that like latest one that came out just a few years ago on PlayStation 5, I think. So I got some catching up to do, and I want to play Munch's Odyssey again. Anyways,
dude, the one with Munch is so interesting.
Yeah, it really is so unique and weird.
And Stranger's Wrath is so interesting. Yeah,
that one's one of my favorites. I've beaten that one probably more than any of the others. I almost have it platinumed on my Vita.
Wow.
Which is a weird place to play that, but kind of fun. Anyways, that's one of my goals for October. I don't know if I'll get to it because there's just so much to play and cover for the podcast, but that's kind of the cool thing about having a show. I can play whatever the heck I want. So be prepared for just listening to me talk about Abe and Moodawkins and Sligs all month. Anyways, Devin, do you have any cool October plans?
Just try to watch as many horror movies as I can. I just got 3/4 of the way through the original Good Night Mommy. There's a new one with Naomi Watts. It might not be her. I don't know who it is in the new one, but the original is from like 2010, 2012, and it's in a different language. And basically, like, there's 2 twin boys, and their mom got like facial reconstruction surgery type thing.
Interesting.
And she's like all wrapped up, and they're like observing her as the days go by, and they're like, she's not our mom. That is not our mom anymore. We don't know who that is. And I'm putting myself in their shoes. And when you're a kid, your parents are everything. And I was like, that'd be freaking scary.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that. But then they start to get weird. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything. But I'm going to be watching a lot of horror films. Just rewatch The Menu. Very interesting movie. I enjoyed it. Yeah, very, very unique.
That's cool. You should get
what else am I going to do?
For Christmas, they do like those, what's that calendar called? Advent calendar, where you like open the little box every day and get some jelly beans or a little Lego toy. should do like a Halloween horror movie, like a little advent calendar where you open a little box and it tells you what movie to watch. I don't know if you can buy that, so you might just have to make it up yourself, but you could pretend.
I probably would have to make it up myself so that I don't have any in there that I've seen.
Yeah, that's true. Because they would.
I can rewatch some, but
yeah,
not they would all be
Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and The Sixth Sense would be like. Those would be the ones, and you've seen those like a million times, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What else am I gonna do? I don't know. I'm gonna dress up on stream. Everybody told me to be Shaggy. I look like Matthew Lillard. And then we also decided to combine that with Batman. So we're gonna be the Shaggy Bat. I don't know how that's gonna go, but
Shaggy Bat. It's like Shaggy Batman. Yeah. Okay.
I was scrolling TikTok though, and I came across these like realistic looking masks that they sell on Etsy. And it'll go over your whole head, and you can barely see through them because the eye holes are not that noticeable because they want it to look realistic. But it actually like goes into the neck of your shirt as well. So I could be sitting here. There was an alien for $35, 60% off. I was like, hey, either I'm getting it for $35 or I'm getting scammed out of $35. I don't know.
Or it's going to be the worst looking mask you've ever seen when it gets there. Yeah, some of those are crazy though. They're like that kind of silicone, like kind of wobbly, look like fake skin kind of material. Some of those do look really crazy. And when they do tuck into your shirt like that, I bet you could scare someone real bad with those.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm excited for spooky season. It's my favorite out of any time of the year. The weather is perfect right now. It's a little bit too hot today, but the evenings are unbelievable. The trees are turning orange. And all of the horror stuff is in Walmart.
Yep. It is a fun time of year. I like it when you just got the smell of like the Halloween makeup and fake blood. There's like that weird Halloween smell. I don't know exactly what it is that's making that smell. If it's like the cheap costumes and all the chemicals in the toxic plastic, or if it is like the makeup and candy that is also full of chemicals. I don't know what it is. You know the Halloween smell though, right?
I think so, yeah. Dry ice, plastic, rubber, and
candy corn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fun. Well, yeah, October should be fun. I'm also going to get ARCs in October. Fingers crossed. And I just got Andromeda's Edge, so it might be... I was going to call it Arcs-tober, but it might be like Space-tober, where I'm obsessed with those two space games as well, so... I don't know. We'll see. We'll just let it morph. Odd-tober, Arcs-tober, Space-tober, horror movie-tober. Topher Grace. It'll be some kind of tober.
Topher Grace. Is that the That 70s Show guy?
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. Who plays Venom in Spider-Man 3 and I feel like doesn't do a very good job, but I don't know. That's fine. I do love 70s Show, though.
Dude, so do I. And my question for you is who should... what's her name in that? The one chick that's in the friend group. The smaller chick.
Mila Kunis?
Yeah. Who do you think she should date in that? Hyde or Kelso?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I feel like they're both like could have worked out just fine. Just knowing that like Ashton Kutcher is actually married to her like in real life now.
That's a thing?
I'm pretty sure. And so I don't know. It just seems weird to me for it not to be Kelso. Let me see. Now I gotta make sure. I'm pretty sure that's right.
How cool. It'd be like a crazy thing to end up marrying someone that you spent so much time working with. And
that would be crazy.
Such a unique career. Like you're not just at work sitting in an office. You're like acting together. You're kissing each other. You're in funny sets. I can imagine how you get feelings for someone acting with them. I really can.
Yeah, I mean, they were, having to kiss a whole bunch on the show and stuff too. So yeah, it'd be really, really crazy. Yeah, he was married to Demi Moore from 2005 to 2013, and then has been married to Mila Kunis since 2015. So, anyways, 46 years old.
Wow.
He's a funny guy. At least in, I don't know, a few things I've seen him in. And, I think he got into like that philanthropy thing a bit, where he was like rescuing children that were in like sex trafficking organizations. And so I feel like he's done a lot of good in the world that way. I don't know anything else about him, and I know that like the actor that plays Hyde is in prison for some untoward stuff as well. So you never really know with these famous people. But anyways, as soon as you said who should Mila Kunis be married to, I was like, well, I can't say Hyde because he's in jail. But just based on the TV show, I did like Hyde's character. So.
Same.
Yeah. Cool.
They have the 90s show now, which is, I haven't checked it out, but it seems interesting.
Yeah, I saw that too. Isn't are Kitty and Red still in it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's nuts. Red is the best. The Kitty and Red like kind of make that show, in my opinion. 70s show. Without them, I think you drop in quality a lot.
Oh, I know. It's funny that they're just always upstairs.
Yeah.
But they don't know really what's going on downstairs at all.
It's kind of like our grandparents. Like, they are almost never downstairs.
Yeah.
At least, like, when we're there, I feel like they're afraid of the basement. So, a little too relatable there. Cool. Devin, well, yeah, I'm sitting here. And I'm sitting next to your milk carton because I still need to clean it up.
Oh, heck yeah.
From when you came over a few days ago. We'll talk about that a little later in the episode. But I'm curious about the milk thing. I feel like I used to drink a lot of milk as a teenager. But then once I went and lived in Europe for a couple years, they do not drink the same quantity of milk. And so I feel like that just kind of like killed it, and I've never gone back. But I know you're a big milk drinker. Is it like your go-to, like need a drink, need some protein, I just worked out, gonna chug some milk?
Yeah, but I don't only drink it after a workout. I went to Wendy's the other day and we got the saucy nugs. They got a 10-piece, 20-piece saucy nug in a combo. And I was like, shoot, let me look at the drink options. There were Frosties, there were sodas, and then they had milk. And I was like, oh, heck yeah. And I clicked milk. And I was like, that's what I want. I just want milk with my meal.
You ordered milk from Wendy's?
Yeah, and the best part is they didn't give it to me. They forgot it.
Did you go back and ask them? I totally
Nah. I was like, I don't even care. I was like, I'll just get some milk at the store.
They have it on the menu, but no restaurants carry it, so they just...
Well, that's what I said. I said, how are you going to miss the milk when no one's ever ordered the milk? Someone's looking at the receipt going, holy, someone ordered the milk. I'm not going to forget this. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the most random item on the order. You're not going to forget that. You're like, that's a weird drink.
Yep.
But they did. They forgot it. I was going to go back in there and just say, hey, I ordered a milk for my child. Can I get it? He's freaking out.
Yeah, that probably would have worked. Because that's the only thing I can think of that has milk in it is we'll get our kids like a Happy Meal sometimes from McDonald's, and you can choose like a little carton of milk as their drink, but they usually want the Sprite anyway, so that my kids don't even get the milk.
I don't know why, man. It is my go-to drink. Just ice cold, loaded with saturated fat milk or just fat free. I don't care. I just love it. Oh my gosh. I'm not a serial killer, I swear. Some people think that that's such an issue. They're like, if you drink milk, you're nuts. I'm like, if you don't drink, I don't know. It's so good, man.
I feel like a very large contingent of America drinks milk in some way. I mean, we go through tons of it as a country. So I don't think it's that out of the ordinary. I was just kind of curious. I like milk. I just haven't had it as a drink in a long time, on cereal or in stuff. We use Fairlife chocolate and regular milk for our ice cream that we make in our Ninja Creamy, and their milk's incredible.
It's so good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really appreciate milk too. I cannot think of the last time that I poured like a glass of just regular milk and drank it. But I don't know, maybe I'll try it after this episode. Maybe I'll be a changed man or a changed cow.
I would drink it right from the source, to be honest. I just need to be cold.
Yeah, that's true.
I need an ice cow.
Devin's got a dead cow in the freezer.
Works for a couple weeks and it gets weird.
Yeah. Yep. That's funny.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm mostly water and soda over here. I drink about 150 ounces of water a day, which I feel like is a lot.
Wow. I do not.
We have like 40 and 50 ounce mugs, and I'll fill that up just in our filtered water thing, like usually 3 times a day. And then I'll probably have a soda as well on top of that. So yeah, I'm mostly water. But I mean, I'm mixing caffeine packets and stuff in the water, so it's probably just killing me anyways. But
I feel that.
Cool. Yeah, the milk here, just I could see it. It's a big tub of milk that you drank in like an hour and a half span. So I was just curious. How big is this thing?
I do appreciate though that it gives me a ton of protein as well.
Yeah, this one's 32 grams of protein, but it is a quart of milk.
Quart of milk. That was easy.
Yeah.
What is this, amateur hour?
Devin wants a half gallon next.
Oh.
Here's the question. Do you think you have such a tolerance to milk? Do you think you could keep a gallon down, where that's generally like a thing most people can't?
I think I could if you gave me 2 hours.
Okay.
I don't think that if I pounded it like people try to do so quickly, but yes, I don't think it would bother me in the slightest, because I can drink like a half gallon in like an hour. And that's not that weird. And I don't really feel sick. But I wonder if I went a full gallon in like 2 to 3 hours, if I'd be like, oh, I don't know.
That sounds like
I'd be
prime
jacked.
content.
I'd have so much protein. Oh yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I feel like that's like Mr. Beast's next video. Got a guy on here, he can drink a whole gallon in 3 hours. He kept it down. Here's $1 million.
Yeah, heck yeah.
The more I talk about it, that's not something he would do probably. But yeah, that might be something Devin needs to do on his stream though. That
honestly, fun. Yeah. You imagine watching me stream and it's all over my equipment.
Yeah, everyone I've ever seen try to do it has been really confident going in, but then always pukes it up. But you drink way more milk than anyone I know, so I don't know. I think you might be able to do it. What kind of milk would you want if you were going to drink a gallon? You want chocolate, skim, whole, 2%?
Anywhere between skim and whole. I like normal milk better than chocolate. Chocolate gets too sweet after a while. That's too much sugar to drink. There's
a lot of sugar in chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That would be fun to watch. I'd watch that. I think that's prime Patreon content. Put it behind the paywall. Everyone wants it.
It's a great idea, honestly.
Yeah. And it's a great transition. Everybody check out our Patreon at patreon.com/supergamebrothers. You can get our episodes to this podcast 3 days early. You can also get some other perks, some exclusive episodes, our monthly Q&A. We need people to submit questions to that, so get on it. And you can get your name in the credits. And I think that's... Oh, and you can submit listener mail to this very show if you want us to answer your questions live on the podcast. So lots of fun goodies over there. You can also play games with us on Board Game Arena. And yeah, really appreciate it. If you would at least follow the Patreon, you can do that totally for free. Just to be able to see some of the free content we put up there and so that you can follow along. All right, Devin. Not a ton this week. I say that every week, though, and we always take about the same amount of time, so I don't know what's going on. But for the news mini nuke this week, and for the well, there is one kind of big news. I don't know how long this is going to take. We'll just jump in. For the news mini nuke, we've got new game announcements and trailers. We're going to start with 2 board game announcements that I thought were pretty cool. There's this new trading card game, and I'm generally nervous to start or try any of these trading card games. The newest, most popular ones are Disney Lorcana and Star Wars Unlimited. Then there's others, obviously Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, and I don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Even still exists in some smaller way than Pokemon and stuff. But the thing I'm scared of is getting addicted to buying packs of cards, right, to get the perfect pull. This game is called Altered, and will you share your screen with me, Devin? I actually can't see it. But this game called Altered was kickstarted, I think, last year, or maybe really early this year. I can't remember which, but the idea is I think they have some of the same people that designed Magic the Gathering, maybe, or some of these other games. So they have some good talent, and they want it to be what they call, I think, more sustainable and kind of change up how these games work. So this game's called Altered. It's not based on something big like Magic or like Pokemon animals, but there are different characters in the game. Some of them are based on real life people. I think Amelia Earhart is one of the characters, and so I don't exactly know what kind of way they're going to take it, but you have a deck and you construct a deck, and with that deck of cards you're trying to it's not too unlike something like Compile that we played a few days ago, Devin, that we'll talk about later in the show, just with a little bit more going on. You send your leaders out to these, I think 2 different lanes, a left lane and a right lane, and if you win one of them, then you move closer to the win state. It's different in that it's not just my Pikachu does 40 damage to you and your Squirtle does 50 back. Instead of damaging each other, it's all about winning the round, and you get to move your token closer to the I win state. That's how the game plays. It's supposed to be pretty good. A lot of people actually really like it. And yeah, you can build your own decks. They have a bunch of starter decks that you can buy. And I think where the interesting thing comes in is when every card has a QR code on it, which sounds like it would be very ugly on a card, but they do it in a pretty clean way. They're on the bottom of the corner of the card, and you scan them into your profile on the Altered app, and then that card is yours. It's part of your collection on there, and then the physical card that you have is just a representation of that. The idea being that you can then sell, trade, or reprint that card because you own it in the digital form, and they'll send you another copy because you own it. They can see that on your profile. And then if you sell it or trade it, then the company Altered does get a little percentage or something of the sale. So it helps them to stay more profitable because they get to make some money from the trading of the characters later on. So kind of a cool system. You can also run unlocking packs. I think you unlock some kind of currency, and then you can spend that currency to say, okay, I've got this normal version of a card and I want it to be a normal foil version of a card. I want to spend 50 of my currency for this card I already own, reprint it, and send me this foil cool version. I don't know. Anyways, I'm talking a lot about Altered, where we don't have any pictures up here to support it, but Altered is the newest trading card game. It, I think, raised like $7 million when it was on crowdfunding, which is a lot. And we'll see if it takes off now that it is finally in retail. Anyways, the first bit of news, the game is available on Board Game Arena, so you can try it and play it totally for free. And it did say in this post that you can link your Altered account and play with like your own purchased cards, which is interesting. So I don't know if they must have like some standard decks that you can play with for free, and then you can link your account. I'm really excited to try this one out because, at least on Board Game Arena, because it's been pulling me a little bit. I'm like, wow, I kind of like that this isn't like another one based on animals or Disney. They probably are owned by Asmodee or something, but I don't know. At some point, I hate giving Disney like all my money. So glad that it's a new entrant. Competition is good. Just wanted to give it a shout out. It's on Board Game Arena. Okay, next up, Devin. This one's really cool. The new expansion for Root comes out, at least is launching on Kickstarter this in October, which is cool. And on this YouTube channel called Lord of the Board, they got kind of the exclusive to show one of the two new maps, I think because the Lord of the Board guy designed the map, and they showed the two new meeples. I don't love those two images there of the meeple, so I have another one that we can go to in a second, but the board looks pretty cool. It has like some bridges over a cavern or something, which is an interesting idea. Just for a little, yeah, it's just a different setup for like which zones are adjacent. So cool idea. Also has the river going through there, so you could still play as the river folk, I'm imagining. But I really like the meeples for the Bat clan. Oh, I've got their names pulled up. What are they? This expansion is called the Homeland expansion, and the Bat faction is called the Twilight Council, and the Frog and Toad faction is called the Lilypad Diaspora. I don't know what diaspora means, but anyways. So very excited about that one. Launches in October. I love Root. I think it's excellent. We're going to talk more about leader games and Root later, but just wanted to show you those meeples because I thought the Bat and the Frog meeples just look really cool. Excited.
Two awesome animals to add to the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. But very pumped about that. Comes to Kickstarter later next month, but yeah, just wanted to highlight that, even though we've highlighted it a couple times, just for, David's sake. All right, there were a few new board game announcements in the last week. I don't include every single one because that would take forever, but the three that I thought were interesting are listed here, so we'll just kind of alternate reading these synopses. But this first one is called Line of Fire, Burnt Moon, and it is kind of a spin-off of the Undaunted series, which is a very popular series of board games. This one's coming out in June 2025, and I think it's the same two designers, Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson, also published by Osprey Games. And it's a lane battler, which again, Devin, we played Compile this week, which is also one. But let's I'm going to read this synopsis here. A group of black hat hackers known as POSIWID. I don't know if that's supposed to say something. Possiwid? POSIWID, sure. Plots to hijack the moon, Io, and hold the entire Jovian power grid to ransom. Standing in their way are the ultra-corporate LFA, the constructors of the lunar energy facilities. Both sides have engaged a fleet of ROV, advanced remote-operated robots, to battle across the treacherous landscape. The machines are activated. Initiate combat sequence. The battle for Io has begun. Line of Fire Burnt Moon is a standalone two-player card game that fuses the lean deck building of the award-winning Undaunted series with fast-paced lane battling. Sharp decision-making and clever positioning combined in a nail-bitingly tense, endlessly replayable, and lightning fast experience. Anyways, I'm kind of really into lane battlers right now. I bought like the play mats and big box for Radlands. And I've been very excited for Compile. We played it a few days ago. The mini expansion for Compile is going to be delivering to me tomorrow. So this one will probably be right up my alley, even though I haven't tried an Undaunted game. But June 2025 for that one, Line of Fire. And then next up, this one, when it was announced, basically shot immediately to the top of the Board Game Geek hotness list. This is the Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking game. It comes out in January 2025, and the designer is Brian Bornmueller, and is published by Office Dog. All right, Dev, take this one away if you've got the synopsis, or I can read this one if you don't have it up.
Oh yeah, I got this. Let's see. January 2025. Oh, you already went over that. Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game is a cooperative card game that plays out over 18 chapters that leads players through the events of the novel The Fellowship of the Ring. The chapters can be played in any order, but ideally you play them in sequence. In each chapter, each player takes a different character role. Frodo, Gandalf, Sam, Pippin, Farmer Maggot?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce that?
I think so.
Etc. And each character has a condition that must be met in order to pass the chapter and advance in the story. Frodo needs to capture ring cards, for example, while Pippin wants to take as few tricks as possible. I don't understand that. Do you get that?
Yeah, this is a trick-taking game. So it's a game like Hearts or Rook or Skull King, where everyone plays a card, and the first person that plays is leading the trick, and they'll play like the 5 of hearts. Then everyone after them has to play a heart if they have one. If they don't have one, then they can play offsuit. And then whoever played the highest card of that suit wins the trick, which is that one hand or that stack of cards. In most trick-taking games, there's some like trump suit that would beat the heart if you don't have a heart and you can play the trump suit. Anyways, there's a lot of iterations on that. So if you're playing as Pippin, you want to, in order to win the scenario, you have to win as few tricks as possible. Probably just less than the other players, I would imagine.
Interesting. All right, I'll continue this. Let's see. As you advance through the chapters, new characters, items, and challenges are introduced to the game. The deck consists of 37 cards, with one card being set aside as lost each hand. Whoever is dealt the one ring becomes Frodo. Then other players choose from the available characters based on their hand. The one ring is the game's only trump card, but initially rings can't be led until someone plays one offsuit. Those are a lot of board game terms that I'm sure you understand perfectly.
Yeah, trick-taking is a very like specific genre. And it kind of, I don't know what the beginning of it was. I think it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. But yeah, I mean, you just picture like a bunch of grandmas like sitting around a table playing Pinochle or something. That's where I think our parents first learned about trick-taking games was Pinochle. Just with a standard face deck of cards. But nowadays, trick-taking is usually like has some twist on it. Like there isn't a trump suit, or you can trump in some weird way. One of my favorite trick-taking games is on the shelf behind me. It's called Cat in the Box, and all of the cards are suitless. They're just black. And then when you play them, then you decide what suit you're playing. And then you have to put a token on the board, and if you can get as many of your tokens close together, you score points. So this one is kind of similar in that it takes kind of those trappings of a conventional trick-taking game, but it adds some rules here where in this one, we're all playing together, but we can't talk about the cards we have in our hands. And then there's some scenario like Pippin needs to win the fewest tricks, and Frodo has to win the trick that has the ring. But the ring is the trump card. And so I don't know how he wouldn't win that, but there must be some scenario. And then Gandalf does something special, and so the other characters. This game is very reminiscent of another game called The Crew, which I have behind me as well. But that one I did not love quite as much. I don't know. I probably need to give it another chance, but it's basically a trick-taking game similar to this where you're all working together, and it might say like, okay, if you're playing 3 players, David needs to win 3 tricks, Devin needs to win 2, and Bill, our imaginary third player, needs to win, I don't know, 0, or you need to win with the 7, or you have to win with all the heart cards or something. And so without talking, you kind of have to figure that out with in the crew. They give you one bit of information you can share with like a little token, but kind of similar to Sky Team that we played, but instead of it being a dice game where you can't talk, it's like a card game where everyone knows what cards are in the deck, but there's some strict scenario or restrictions on a win condition. And so without saying, I have these cards, you have to play them in such an order and a way so that everyone can kind of infer, okay, I know he played that, so he probably doesn't have this. So if I play this, I'll win this trick, and I need to win 3 so that we win this round. It's a little crazy, but anyways, trick taking is super popular nowadays again, which is kind of surprising to me. I think it's fun, but it's kind of a few and far between thing for me. But some people get really into it, and this game was #1 on the hotness. It might still be. I'm curious to look. It still is. Yep, and has been for a few days. So I don't know. It's very popular, and I love Lord of the Rings, so the theme here would be helping. I do wish that this had more scenarios in it. The crew, I think, had 60 different like mini missions, because like one hand in a trick-taking game is usually like 5 minutes. And obviously in this one you're going to lose a lot, so between the, how many did it say? 16, I think? 18, actually, different chapters. And so you'll probably play at 35, 40 hands before you've gone through all 3 of these parts, and they have like little secret boxes in there and say like, don't go to this one until you've completed the box before and stuff, which is kind of a fun kind of feeling, especially with the Lord of the Rings story tied to it. So I don't know, I might give it a shot, but I don't know. Since I didn't love the crew, I'm not sure that I would love this one. But my wife loves Lord of the Rings more than me, so maybe that would be the selling point. Who knows? Anyways, wanted to bring that one up. And then third is a game called Nova Era. It comes out in Q1 of next year, published by Come On Games, and designed by Andrea Chiarvesio, I think. And synopsis here. In Nova Era, players guide their civilization from humble tribal beginnings to vast scientific empires, navigating the twists and turns through eras of history. Harness the power of technology, expand territories, and enlist famous and sometimes infamous personalities from across history. Civilizations face constant threats from rival nations, natural disasters, social unrest, and the ever-looming possibility of a dark age. The objective of Nova Era is to build the greatest civilization. This is done by strategically choosing the most beneficial technologies, territories, and personalities from the tableau, evolving them as the players go through the annals of time. Players score by having a variety and or majority of different technology types, as well as fulfilling various card objectives. Gameplay revolves around drafting and spending dice, with different dice types providing different resources, bonuses, and penalties for players. Overextending your own dice leads to civil unrest, and dice unused by players fill up the progress bars of natural disasters and the Dark Age, affecting all players across the table. Once all dice actions are taken, an era ends and a new one begins. At the end of 3 eras, the game ends and the most prosperous civilization wins. I think the goal with this game is to have a kind of a shorter civilization game. That's a genre of board games that is generally very long. You know, like 3, 4, 5 kind of hours long, where like I start as this tiny little civilization, I'm growing a whole bunch into this big sweeping civilization, and we have, you know, fights with armies and stuff. And a lot of companies have tried to like make one that feels as fulfilling as that, but in a shorter time frame. Tapestries behind me on the shelf is one such game. I think there's one called Mosaic that came out a couple years ago as well that tried to do that as well. Some of them been a little hit or miss, I think. I do like the artwork on this one, and that it seemed to be focused around like a card tableau and dice drafting and placing dice, it seemed. So I don't know. Might be a cool one if they can pull it off. So yeah, just wanted to give those 3 games their due, coming out next year. And then 3 little things here from the video game world. First up, for the Xbox fans, there is a new transparent controller. And there's a bunch of variants as well for the design lab where you can design one of the Elite Series controllers. But this base transparent one here is like the standard controller that you can get for $70 for the Xbox Series S and X. I really like the transparent with the gold triggers, the gold D-pad. Yeah. It looks really nice. It's kind of like a gray with transparent and a little bit of white. And then the other image you had pulled up there, Devin, are the 6 different variants for the series, or what's that called? The Elite Series 2, which is like I think they're like $175, like a really nice controller with the adjustable triggers and trigger stops and swappable analog sticks and stuff. So they're pretty cool looking. I like the base one that is just fully transparent. The black, like, would that be grips on those ones? Kind of take me out of the loving those a little bit.
If you were to choose one of the colored ones, which are you going with? I choose red.
Okay. I'm not sure.
I love the orange buttons on that red one.
Okay. I think the cool thing about their design lab is that you can start with a base and then you can change out the colors on everything. So you could have that like red transparent controller and not have orange buttons and not have black D-pad or black analog covers. But from the configurations there, yeah, I think the orange and red one does look pretty good. I like the white and blue and the like all teal one. I don't like the pink, or I'd probably say the green one, but I don't like the pink buttons. So I don't know.
I would go all clear with the orange buttons and see the pink one with the orange analogs too.
Oh yeah.
I'm going all clear with orange buttons and orange analogs or black analogs.
Yeah.
But this color with the orange
pretty clean
just looks so cool.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, those are available now, I think. So if you've wanted a new controller and you have a grill with a gold plated grill, this will match. So there's that.
That's a great point.
Yeah. Next up is just a little short one. Famous character is coming to Tekken 8 in their newest DLC pack. It is the famous Heihachi. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. That's just how we always said it as kids. It's Heihachi. Has the crazy hair. I think he's like somebody's dad. I don't remember whose dad. The Lee? Law? I think it's Lee. I don't know. No, it's not.
It'd be funny if his name was like Hayakai.
Yeah, that would.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm a little bummed in that video. He doesn't have those like crazy stone sandals that we always like used to. They were like part of Heihachi's character. Like he's kicking you with a stone sandal. He's just
now he's gonna be wearing Birkenstocks. You watch.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, and last up here, a new trailer popped up, and I had no idea this was even being worked on, and is just automatically one of my most anticipated games. Very pumped for this one. This is called Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist. And
is this Ender Lilies?
It is.
Sequel? No way.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a direct sequel or just like another game in that world, but yep, that is what this is. It releases on January 22nd.
Wow. I'm going to have to play Ender Lilies then, and so I can get ready.
Yeah, you should. And yeah, this looks really good. I like how the art looks as well. And the one complaint I had from Ender Lilies was that the map I thought was a little drab because it was just kind of the outline of the rooms, like a box basically. But they have a lot more like art in there now, which is excellent because that'll make it way easier to keep track of where places are, and it just looks better. So I don't know. I'm very excited.
Clean. That's nice. That's so smart to do. Put like a little bit of detail in the map.
Yeah.
instead of it just being a color.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
That's where Hollow Knight, I think, really crushed them, was in that map department. But I think Ender Lily's music is better than Hollow Knight's. Maybe Hollow Knight also has great music, but and this is definitely like a more gothic, creepy vibe.
So cool.
Yeah. So very excited for that one. I didn't know they were working on it, and it just makes me a little sad still that Hollow Knight still doesn't have its sequel release date. Whereas this game just came out a few years ago and is already getting a sequel in January. I'm sure this team is much bigger than Team Cherry, though, so I don't want to give them too much hate. But anyways, Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist, coming to Steam, Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox on January
so cool
23rd, I think it said. So very pumped for that one. All right, a few new games to subscription services. There are a couple that we'll talk about later as part of Sony's State of Play. But on the Nintendo side, they announced 4 new games are coming to the Super Nintendo app if you have Nintendo Online. First one is a huge deal for me.
Let's go.
Yeah, Battletoads Double Dragon. This is the only version of Battletoads that I ever played, and this is the one that I loved. Just excellent music, super fun. I don't know that I ever got past like stage 3, maybe. That kind of mechanical, like...
with electricity and the chicks that are beating you up.
Yeah, and like the saw blades
and conveyor
everywhere.
Belts. And yes,
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're talking about.
That's a hard level. I think I maybe have beat it nowadays with save states, but
like 4 weeks ago, I looked up all of the Battletoads games and which ones they're liking the most. Surprisingly, top 1 or 2 was the most recent one with the crazy, weird, newer art style. They said it's really super good. And then I think the one that we played as kids, even though it's nostalgic to us, was very low on the list.
Oh, really?
But there was only like 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah.
But it's still good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a fun brawler. It's very difficult, but it is fun. Okay, so there's that one. And then there were 3 other games I didn't really care about. This one's called Kunio-kun no Dodgeball Daiozenin Shugo. And then Cosmo Gang the Puzzle, which looks like Tetris with moving kind of just like some variant there. And then Big Run is the name of the last one. I didn't know those other 3 games, but check those out if you have Nintendo Online on the Super Nintendo app. So those are those. And that, just looks like it's a driving game. I do like those driving games with that kind of movement style, or like really nostalgic to me, but I've never loved one, at least playing one, because it's just tricky to drive like that, in my opinion. Okay, the Epic Game Store only has 1 game this week. It is called The Spirit and the Mouse. And to be honest, I didn't look at this very much, but it looks like you're controlling some mouse, and just judging by the name, and I think this little ghost dude that pops up in a second, there's also like a little fire spirit who has a tooth sticking out just to look a little sassy. I don't know. Doesn't look excellent to me, but if you like a quirky, what looks like a 3D, not a 3D platformer, but kind of like a puzzle platformer, then maybe it'll be a fun little short amount of time. But that's The Spirit and the Mouse. All right, that is it for the news mini nuke this week. So now we're on to what we have been playing. Maybe I'll start, Devin. I've only got 1 new thing that I'll kind of talk about, and then you can talk about the couple things you've been playing. I did get and start UFO 50, which has been getting quite a bit of buzz as the newest game from Mossmouth. And I think his name is, dang it, it's something U. YU is his last name. And I think on the last episode I said Steven, but that's actually the actor from The Walking Dead. It's what is his name? That's going to drive me nuts now.
I hope his name is Tank.
Derek Yu. Who did Spelunky. Yeah, Spelunky and Spelunky 2, and then working with this team. You turn the game on, and basically the menu screen is 50 what look like kind of like an NES cartridge, with spider webs and dust all over them. And then you can scroll through and look at all of them. You can push square, or kind of X or whatever button that is, to kind of read the description and the controls of the game. And then you just hit A, you dust off the cartridge, blow on it, and start playing. And I've probably only played 5 or 6 of the games so far, but they've been really fun. Some of them are like really like pretty short, like arcade style games. Like one of them, I actually really liked this one. It was called The Great Bell Race, I think. And it was kind of like, that was it. That's that one right there, where you were racing as that little bell spaceship. And you're racing around these tracks on the screen. And it kind of reminded me of those isometric, like driving racing games, like growing up, where you're seeing the race from above. And then you're just turning like around a track, and the whole track is on the screen already. I like those kind of racing games. MotorStorm RC was one of my very favorite games of all time, and it kind of was similar to that. And yeah, that one was really fun, but I beat it in like 15 minutes. Yeah, then there's some really weird, like strange ones. And it is kind of fun to like see. So I started with some of they have them, you can filter them in different orders, sort them, I guess is the right word. And I've just been leaving it in chronological because it's this fake company, I think called UFO 50, as a fake video game publisher releasing games. And so the ones that this company would have released earlier in time are at the top, and then the newer ones are later. So I've kind of been trying to play them from top to bottom, but I did hop down to a different one, and it was called Pilot's Quest. And it was the pilot from that Great Bell Race game crashed, and it's like a way different one where you kind of like Animal Crossing a little, not really, but you have to like get resources to fix your spaceship that is crashed, which is that Red Bell spaceship. But anyway, so there's some fun like nods back to the other games, and some of them are sequels to like earlier games in the list. Haven't played very much yet, but I've really liked what I've played so far. It's just fun to see like the creativity that they have. And like a lot of those arcade games to me didn't control very well, like back in the day. And so it's fun to see like what a team nowadays can do with like, we're going to make it look like an arcade game, but like the controller is a lot more responsive, and just, because it was made today and stuff. That's a really fun one too, is that shoot 'em up where it's called like Sunset Drive or something, and you're racing this car along a road and you're shooting bullets up, kind of like Space Invaders, to like blast all these aliens, and they're shooting back at you. UFO 50 is really great. We need to set up our Steam family, Devin, so you can try it. I think you won't like every game in there for sure. There were a couple I played and I was like, I'll play that one later. But some of them I'm like, oh yeah, that one's really cool. So I'm just excited to explore that some more, see what other kind of meta like concepts there are. Like you start to see like secrets or behind the scenes, or like what happened to this company and what other games are connected to each other. And it's been getting a lot of buzz. It has, Devin was circling on the screen a minute ago, it has almost 1,500 Steam reviews. It's got overwhelmingly positive reviews on there at the moment. It's been getting, like I said, pretty good buzz from video game critics. I saw Kotaku had like a positive article on it, and Jason Schreier was tweeting about it. So I think it's getting quite a bit of play, which makes me happy, but then also makes me sad that like a few months ago we talked about Braid Anniversary Collection, which is like an excellent puzzle game that just didn't sell like anything, which is a bummer. So I wish every game could be successful if it deserved to be, because there are games that don't deserve to be for sure that are, and there are games that do deserve to be because they're good and the teams like put an effort that don't succeed. But UFO 50 is really cool. Definitely recommend it. Very quirky and weird. And if you don't like retro games, then you definitely won't like this. So just keep that in mind. But if you do, I think it's pretty cool. But that's really the only new thing for me this week. I'm still playing Black Myth and the Plucky Squire and Astrobot. I may be stretching myself a little too thin. I need to just like finish one or two of those. But it never ends. So yeah, that's probably my update for the week.
Okay. So yes, I have been playing a couple games. Well, we played this game for a few hours. I know you also played it for a few hours.
Yeah.
This is the Plucky Squire. Right now we are in its 3D form. It's an interesting game. It's more of a you game than it is a me game, for sure.
Yeah, probably.
But for what it is, it's super funny. Like right now we're at this part where we go into like a playing card of this elf chick, and we have to convince her in a way to give us her bow. Because if we don't have a bow and arrow for the next adventure, we're not going to be able to do it, basically. Super cool game. Honestly, it's very creative. You go into books, you break apart sentences, replace a word. It's kind of like that other Baba Is You, in a way.
Oh, yeah.
You're
much
kind of
simpler
swapping words into a book. So there's a small bridge ahead or a big toad ahead, and I need to make him a flat toad or a small toad or no toad, that type of thing. So you're getting really creative with sentences on books and in pages. I like it though. The combat's good. It feels really good. High frame rate. Very beautiful game, especially in 3D. I don't know what else to say about it. It's unique. This little snippet of the game really isn't doing much justice for what the game provides. But here, you can tell right here. I can manipulate a book. I'm in 3D. I can run around, find secrets. You can always enter a book via these little green portals, and then you become 2D. And now I'm in the book. And I'm going to alter the book, alter the story. There was a villain who said, we always win. He's so tired of us always winning. And I think the goal of this game is to continue to win and to beat him at the end. My biggest complaint with this game is, from what I saw, the mechanics didn't seem like they were changing enough for me. It was like, okay, I finally completed 2 pages. I made the frog small. I made the tree big. I made the forest dark. And then I made it light. And then I moved the stones. And I did that page. And I was like, heck yeah, we get to do something else now. And I walked to the next section. And it was like, oh, here's the exact same mechanics. You need to change the words again. And I wonder if the whole game is like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, here's a mini game inside the game, which is super cool. We're shooting mosquitoes basically with the bow and arrow, and you try to hit them in the eyes. But I like it overall. 8 out of 10 for me. What are your thoughts?
I think mine are pretty much the same as yours. I actually think the art is a lot prettier in the 2D sections. I think in 3D it starts to look a little. I think it still looks good, but I don't know. It kind of looks like you've taken a character out of 2D and put him in 3D, and then he looks a little weird. But it's still pretty. Like, the graphics are still good. I think the 2 things I would say is, I feel like I hope there's a lot more variability as the game gets into like the middle and towards the end. And I hope that the game, I don't know exactly what I was hoping with this game, but it seems much more like on rails than I thought it would be. I was hoping for a little more openness and freedom. Maybe I'm only a couple hours in, so maybe that does happen once you have more control of the book, and maybe you go back 10 pages and then you go forward again. But it seems like, at least in the beginning, like, okay, you do this, and to do that, you flip forward 1 page, go there, grab something, come back, you're done. And then go to the next task, and there's not really anything you can do between those. So it seems a lot more linear. I don't mind games being linear, but I feel like it's such a fun system of hopping back and forth between things that I wish that like the structure of the game was a little more open and let me do it myself a bit more, as opposed to like, hey, I'm a bunny that needs a carrot. Go get the carrot. And I'm like, oh, I just saw a carrot. Instead of like something popping up and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure what that is. And then 45 minutes later, I see something in a totally different part of the book or the room. I'm like, oh, duh, that would be cool. And then you like organically take it back yourself. But it seems like they're like little mini puzzles, kind of smaller in scope and encapsulated than kind of a bigger amount of freedom than I was hoping. But we'll see. Maybe that changes too. But again, it seems like it was maybe directed a little bit towards a younger audience, which I'm totally fine with. I I love games made for kids generally, but just the repetition and like tutorialness, they remind you all the time of like, oh yeah, that's your sword. By the way, you can swing your sword. Oh yeah, if you push square, you'll swing your sword. Like, I know, you told me 4 times. So those are probably my little nitpicks. I hope it gets a little more open, and but I don't know, based on kind of that tutorialness, I doubt it will. I think they're just trying to tell a fun little story with some puzzles and hopping in and out of books and then be done. And maybe that's good enough, and maybe a sequel could be like, okay, now you've got the whole room and you're going to solve this puzzle here and that puzzle there and do it in whatever order you want. And I don't always want that, but when I feel like this mechanic is so cool, it's kind of like Mario Odyssey to me in that way, where in that game you were hopping back and forth between 2D and 3D a lot, but you could do everything like in a kind of your own order, and you'd like I'd see something on a wall, I'm like, oh, that's a picture from 5 worlds ago, and that's going to help me do something that I didn't know the answer to at that point. And I think that kind of discovery is fun in a game like this that has a cool central hook, because that hook's really fun, of like hopping in, hopping out, changing the book. I think those are cool things. So I think I'll finish it and see it through, but I hope that if they do a sequel, and if the game does well, I hope they do, but I hope they make it into something like a little bigger. I don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts. I'm not fully formed yet because I haven't finished it, obviously, but
yeah, I would say I wish it was a little more difficult and sometimes a bit tedious. It's like, okay, I know the path to get there, but I really don't feel like jumping in and out of the book and carrying this word over here. It's a little bit time consuming, but
yeah,
it's a cool game.
Yeah,
it is. All right, the other game I've been playing is one of my favorite games. It's got to be top 5, top 10 games for me, in my opinion. And that is the new Remnant 2 DLC that came out, I believe, yesterday. And it puts you back on the planet of Enirud, I believe it's called. My biggest complaint, I'm going to start with my complaints about this DLC, is that someone mentioned this in chat today. They said, we haven't seen any sunshine in this video game all day. I wish that sometimes like it would be like daylight in this place and it would like light up and be beautiful. Sometimes darkness gets a little bit old. But they added some new mechanics to this DLC that I hadn't seen. I've only played the first of 3 DLCs, so maybe they added it in the second as well. I doubt it, though. There are these little drones. They're actually big drones that you basically hold onto the bottom of and you can fly around. What it's introducing, in my opinion, though, is that it's going to be easier to miss some things. There's a lot of verticality in this DLC instead of it just being on one level unless there's a ladder or stairs.
Right.
Or an elevator. But cool enemies, the really weird bug type enemies. I don't know if the DLC is that long. I kind of felt like in 8 hours we may have got to the last boss. I don't know. We're playing this on the hardest difficulty, which I recommend doing if you're really into making builds in games. Remnant 2 is fantastic for builds. You've got such a variation of classes or archetypes you can choose, like medics and engineers and healers and archon and gunslingers and this and that. So many different abilities. You could truly create probably 100 different builds that are focused on shields or melee attacks and no guns, or only gun damage, or all defense, or lightweight, crazy dodging, perfect dodge, go invisible, that type of thing. So much variation to the game that I'm kind of obsessed, to be honest. I think that's what makes a beautiful game. I'm so excited to continue this tomorrow. I really am. The game, it's fantastic. The game is made to feel a little bit clunky and to always feel like you're in danger.
Yeah.
You don't move that fast. You always feel a little bit nerfed compared to what you're fighting. And they expect you to learn move sets and to hit the right buttons. And I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. Did you like what you saw? Did you see much of it?
I didn't see a ton today, but I thought it looked pretty cool. It made me want to play it again. I'm kind of picky with Souls likes, but this is definitely like the best iteration on it. Like add in guns, have difficult fights, make co-op really fun. And I think they've done all of that really well. The build stuff is crazy. That's like another level of the game that I've never got to. Like just listening to you talk about your build today was kind of nuts. Like you have some perk that like stacks on a different perk where if you heal your character enough with this like healing pool you put on the ground, it will give you back a dragon heart or whatever that relic thing is called. And so you basically never run out of heals by like the double stacking of those abilities. And you can probably do that with all kinds of things in this game because you basically have two, are they archetypes that you like have your main one and one on the right? There's one on the left and right. What are they? Your class? Are they classes or archetype? And there's like subclasses.
Yeah, whatever they're called.
Yeah. And since you can have two of them, like I feel like the build variability is way higher in this game than in the first one. Even though we really liked the first one. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I really like this game. I think I've only played like 20-ish hours where you've played like 300 more than that. So I'm like a Remnant noob at this point. I feel like the game almost starts to stretch and feel into like Destiny territory where like there are so many different systems and then you got the rings and both of the archetypes and you can have a different type of relic that it's a little overwhelming unless you get really into it. And that I think has been the hardest part for me is like I'm basically just running around shooting stuff and I really enjoy the gameplay and the gunplay in the game. I think is really fun and excellent. But like getting the most out of my build, I have not got to that level in this game. But yeah, I think it'll be fun.
And that's what I thrive on. Is I get into a game and I want to absolutely master it in any way that I can. I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm making spreadsheets almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing mathematics on paper and in my head to go, if I combine these perks, because you're only able to wear 4 rings, I think it will be 5% more powerful than any other combination.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. That's fun. Because then you hop in with some other players who are online. That is the best way to play this game is co-op, even if it's with randoms. And you've done so much work on your build that you help them tremendously. They're like, holy cow, that guy never died. He was doing so much damage to the boss. How did he do that? I want to learn what he's doing. And it's so good. I could play this game endlessly. Someone needs to take over this game and release a new DLC every 3 months, and I will play this nonstop. Fantastic. Yeah. One of my favorites.
I wonder what they'll do. If they'll make Remnant 3 or if they're going to do another pack of expansions for this one. It'll be interesting to see. Because this is the last expansion in that like season pass that came with the version that we got. So yeah, I'm not sure what they'll do next. But you still have the second expansion to play, so you can at least go back to that one, which is cool. Yeah, really cool team. I like Gunfire Games. They make cool stuff. So Remnant's awesome. If you haven't played it and you like Souls-like games, I think you'd really like it. Because it's definitely brutally difficult.
Oh my goodness.
Like I feel like some people look at it and they're like, oh, you got a gun. It's got to be way easier. I don't think so. I think it's hard. But I don't know.
Oh, it's so hard. I think the first game was harder than the second. There's so much variation to the second in ways that you can slightly cheese it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, even if you have the best build, it is still difficult because they've introduced 4 or 5 difficulty levels.
Yeah. Enemies hit
so
hard.
Much replayability.
Mm-hmm.
So many secrets. You can go replay DLCs and get new stuff the second time you play the DLC just by dialogue choices and searching corners. And sometimes the levels are like randomly generated and you'll find a boss that you never saw in the DLC. You're like,
That's
what
right.
in the world? I didn't even know this was part of it. So biggest recommendation for Remnant 2 for anybody that's looking for a game to play with friends or solo. It's one of the greatest games I've ever played. And that's all I'm going to say.
Cool. Love it. All right, that's it for video games this week. For board games, I played a bunch. Devin came over a couple days ago, which he already mentioned, and we played 2 games. So maybe we'll talk about those together first, and then I'll end with the couple that I played separately. But we played, first off, this new card game. It's called Compile, and it's a 2-player only card game. It's a lane battler, so you're trying to win all 3 lanes. You do that by getting up to 10 kind of power points in the lane, and then you compile the lane, which like purges all of your cards and your opponent's cards in that lane. And I think the coolest part of this game is each time you play, it's going to be slightly differently. There are 12 different mini decks in the game that have different names. The 6 you're seeing on the screen here are Light, Life, Water, Psychic, Fire, and Plague. And each mini deck has 6 cards in it, usually with values from like 0 to 5 and occasionally a 6. And then each of those mini decks has like a different focus. Like this one helps you draw more cards, or this one makes your opponent discard cards. So at the beginning, you do a draft. Excuse me, frog in my throat. Where you go back and forth picking which of these protocol you want to play with. You choose 3 that will kind of sit at the head of the 3 lanes you're trying to compile, and then you'll shuffle those 18 cards together to make your deck. So we played 3 games back to back to back, which was kind of a fun way to play it, I feel like, because we ended up seeing all 12 of the protocols. And even though we saw all 12, like there's a lot of different mixes that we could do in future play. So it was kind of cool to just double down and play it for 2 hours. Really cool game. I really like it. The cards are beautiful. I think the foil they have on the top, like the cards feel plastic, even though on Board Game Geek they say they're not. I don't know if I believe them, but the cards are really cool. Simple, like minimalist art, but the art looks really good because of the foil effect. The cards are really easy to like read. The usability is really simple. Like the power number is right in the center. And then where like the different effects are on the card all make sense. I think it's a really, really solid game. I don't know that I have any complaints with it at this point. I think the couple things we said in our review thoughts at the end were that maybe each deck should have 8 cards instead of 6, just for like a little less cycling of the deck so quickly. I'm not sure. I'm sure they play tested different numbers, but yeah, really like it. I think this is one of the best card games I've played in a while. Probably this one or Veil of Eternity are probably the 2 favorite card games I've played this year. Yeah, probably. I ordered the expansion today. It's going to be here tomorrow, so we'll have 15 protocols now. Devin, I know you liked this game too. Card games are, I think, your jam. You kind of like, it's kind of goes back to the Remnant thing. You like, let me read all the settings on this card and perfectly like min-max the combo here.
Even though you beat me. You did. Barely. You beat me in my own game. It was very, very close. Yeah, just a couple things I'll say about this game. I think they need to keep expanding on the game, because I think that if you like it enough and you play it enough, you're going to see every scenario in a relatively short time. You'll be able to kind of master, with only 6 cards in a deck, you can kind of master what is in this deck, and you're going to kind of stick to the ones that you know work.
Even I did that in our play. I used Life in the second play, and I was like, whew, Life is awesome. And so I used it again in the third one.
Right, exactly. Probably my favorite card game I've played in a year. It's super fun. It can be quick. Like, honestly, you could go through a game in 10 minutes if you're on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool. A cool idea. You're both AI, and you're basically just trying to compile a section and just play against one person. The game is a little bit mean at times. You kind of have to just shut the other person's strategies down. But if you can get over that fact and get over yourself, it's a fun game.
All right, Devin, we're a day later. We had a weird technical snafu, but I think we've basically finished talking about Compile. I was about to say that I completely agree with everything that you said. I think it's an excellent card game, one I'm very excited to play some more. Even just today, I just got the expansion for it. Actually, let me grab it. I'll read the cards to you just for fun. It has 3 new mini decks: Apathy, Love, and Hate. Hate is pretty mean. Like this one is discard 3 cards, then delete 1 card, delete 1 card. What's this one? I feel like there was a meaner one than that. Delete your highest value card and delete your opponent's highest value card. So it's all about delete, basically. Apathy, you discard 1 card. You may flip one of your face-up covered cards. Apathy basically flips cards face down. Flip one of your opponent's face-up cards. Ignore all middle commands on cards in this line. When this card would be covered, flip it. Flip all face-up cards in this line. That's a pretty crazy one. Flip all the face-up cards.
Yeah, truly.
Your total value in this line is increased by 1 for each face-down card in this line. If you did that first, it's kind of a crazy one. And then Love, I think, is the weirdest. It has a keyword called exchange. And let's see, this one, reveal 1 card from your hand, flip 1 card. Take 1 random card from your opponent's hand. Give 1 card from your hand to your opponent. Your opponent draws 1 card, then refresh. Draw the top card of your opponent's deck. And Love has a 6 strength one that says your opponent draws 2 cards. So very weird, kind of 3. I think Love sounds the least interesting of those to me because it seems the most crazy and random, but I like the idea of the Apathy one, just flipping everything upside down. So.
I kind of like it in a weird way just because I'm able to use a strategy of a protocol I didn't pick.
That's true. You'd have to since you can't play them face up, you'd have to play them face down and then flip them somehow, right? But you might be able to pull that off, which would be cool. All of a sudden you've just got a death card in there doing something crazy in your love deck. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really cool game. I'm excited to try it again with those 3 extra ones that just showed up today. All right. After that one, Devin, we played one more game. And I don't usually like cooperative games, so I've had this one for a while and hadn't played it yet, but it's very popular. This is Sky Team from La Scorpion Masqué. I don't know how to pronounce the publisher's name. I think they're French or something, but Scorpion Mask. They make some popular games. I think their most famous one is probably Decrypto. But yeah, this is a 2-player game about a pilot and a co-pilot trying to land an airplane. And you do that by rolling 4 dice behind a shield so you can't see what your partner has rolled. And then you take turns placing a die on this board and you can't talk. Kind of similar to something like The Crew where you can't talk. But quite a bit different. You have to do a bunch of things. Before you get to the airport, you have to call the air traffic control towers to remove these airplane tokens from the card on the top left. Those, if you don't remove them, you'll crash into another plane on its route. There are 2 mandatory spots on the board that you have to place 2 of your 4 dice. They are speed and kind of the tilt, the yaw of the plane. And depending on how you place those in, will determine how far forward, with how much speed you're going, how far forward the card on the left slides. And then, yeah, you just have to do a lot of other things. Put out the landing gear, manage the brakes. I didn't think I was going to like this one, but I really did. I thought it was really fun. You can play through a round in 10 minutes. We started with that really simple introductory one and then added a couple modules to a medium difficulty one after that, and it got a lot harder. Yeah, so I don't know. What did you think about Sky Team, Devin?
I agree. It was a cool game. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but just understanding mathematics and averages really helped us. There's specific times where you need to get without talking my die and your die roughly a similar number, close to the same number. And so we were, in those scenarios, we were kind of putting die 3 and 4 in those settings because they touched other numbers. I liked how short it was, yet it was complex in a way. The mandatory spots are very interesting. You have to place 2 of your dice in those spots every single round and only have 2 dice to do other things. Yet to win the game, you have to have a lot of things checked off in the end. So dice management and just hoping that your last 2 dice are decent numbers to unlock, for example, the brakes or the landing gear, that type of thing. It was a cool game. It really was. We played a pretty simple version at first and we kind of destroyed it, but at the same time, a few misrolls and we would have been probably close to losing.
Yeah.
We added the gasoline mod and added extra planes into the air that we had to clear, which utilizes a die every time you clear a plane out of the sky. And so you can't use those die to put your landing gear down, and it got extremely stressful. And you pretty much had to have a perfect game to win in that condition. I would like to look on YouTube for the best setups, what people think is a pretty fair yet difficult play, because I think the way that we did it the second and third time was maybe a little too far-fetched. It seemed near impossible.
Yeah, it was a tough one where I picked like a yellow one that had that black die that added the extra planes, and then we added the gas module, and I don't know if that's one that's meant to have the gas module. I don't know for sure. So yeah, that probably a little more reading of the rule book beforehand by me would have helped with that, but we almost pulled it off the second time regardless. But
yeah,
I agree.
We got close, but it would have had to end perfect on the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, yep, for sure. Yeah, cool game. I like that there's all those modules, so you can make it hard if you want, or if you just want to, do that kind of basic, kind of standard version. That was also enjoyable too. So yeah, I really liked it. Sky Team's a good one. I just today printed an insert for it. So it's
awesome.
Really exciting. My 3D printer is kind of a small bed, so it's 2 pieces. And it'll have a removable tray for the airplanes. You can't really see that. There we go. But anyways, I thought it was good enough to print an insert for. So that's a seal of 3D printing approval, I guess.
How many hours did that take?
Each piece was like an hour and a half of those 2, so not too bad.
Not too bad.
And the tray's almost done. It was like an hour. So it's not too bad. Yeah, Sky Team. I understand all the buzz. I think it is a fun one. I played a couple more board games this last week. So I'll just talk about them really quickly before we move on. I played Welcome to the Moon. This is one of my very favorite games ever. It's not the sequel, but the sequel, the threequel, whatever we're calling it, to Welcome to Your Perfect Home, which was one of mine and my wife's very first roll and write games we ever played, and is technically a flip and write. And this one just takes that formula of flipping over 3 sets of cards, choosing one, and then using that set of cards on your board somewhere. And then it has that kind of combo feeling where, okay, I did this, and it lets me do this. And by building a fence here, I'm able to meet this objective. So it has a good feeling as you're playing, and this one has 8 different maps in the game. So you can play them all just as standalone maps, and some of them are really excellent. I really like 2, 3, and 4. I can't remember 5, 6, and 7 quite as much, and I've never played 8, so we'll see. Maybe I'll like all of them, but number 1 is maybe the most boring, in my opinion. It's the most simple. Boring isn't the right word. It's still great. But I like 2, 3, and 4 a lot, so you could just play them standalone, or they have a little campaign book, and you can play through them in a mini campaign, and whichever player wins the scenario becomes the captain for the next scenario, makes a little decision, and then whoever has won the most stars at the end of the 8 missions is the winner of the campaign. So we've been playing that with some neighbors, some of our friends, which has been really fun. I think Welcome to the Moon is probably my favorite flipping right, rolling right ever. I think it's great. On my top 100 games of all time video I made in January, it was number 1. I think it's really great for like the complexity level, time frame, completeness, variability with like the 8 different boards. I think it's an excellent package. So check that one out if you haven't. And then last up, I tried a new game I'd never even heard of really. But a couple weeks ago, there was a big sale on this board game site that I buy games from sometimes. And I needed like $10 more to get past their free shipping threshold, or I would have paid $10 or $15 in shipping. And they had this game on like Uber clearance, and I was like, okay, well, I'd rather have an extra game than pay the $10 in shipping. So I bought this game called Djinn, and not thinking much about it, I thought I might even just resell it, flip it right away. But when it got here, I was like, ooh, the box kind of looks fun. So I was like, I'll just open it and film an unboxing. Did that, and like, ooh, I'll just punch out all the pieces, and did that, and I was like, well, we're this far, we might as well play it. So I played a 2-player game of it with my wife, and we both enjoyed it. It's a pretty simple game. It looks more complex than it is. There's a lot of pieces, and the board is a little bit busy. But basically, you play as a wizard, and you're trying to capture all of these evil Djinn that are kind of spread throughout the city. And so what you do is you move your little wizard meeple, and he can only move forward. And so you move him along a path to the next location, and that location will have a little like a action symbol on it, and you can take the action at that location. And if you get to a location with some Djinn, then you can capture them if you're able. And if you're not able, then they steal some of your magic. So that's kind of the whole game. You're capturing these Djinn, moving around, upgrading kind of your magical capacities in your player board. You're getting these keys and scrolls and coins. Finding treasure chests, recruiting other like magical creatures to help you catch the Djinn. And then once you do catch them, you have to put them in a special bottle. It's made of dragon glass, I think it said, with a special magical cork. So you put them in the bottle and then you cork it, and then they will score you a lot of points if they're corked in bottles. I really liked it, to be honest. I wouldn't say it's amazing. I'd probably give it a score somewhere in the 7s at this point, but I think it's one we'll probably keep. So I was very much surprised by that when I thought it might be just like a clearance deal that I found that would just be worth selling, because it's like a $60-$70 game that I got for like $10. So I'd recommend Djinn. Definitely try it if you have the opportunity. And I do think it's kind of funny. The box art looks a little more sinister and creepy than the game actually is. It looks like they shoved Pennywise, the clown, down in that bottle. It's
a little bit scary.
And the game's not scary. The little Djinn meeples don't even really look like that. They look more like Genie and Jafar from Aladdin than that. But I don't know. I kind of like the creepy vibe from the cover. But Djinn, pretty fun game. Pretty simple, nothing like super innovative or incredible about it, but I liked the systems. It played in a pretty short time frame, and I thought it was a pretty fun puzzle. My wife crushed me, but it was still fun. That is all the board games that I played this week. So that's going to end the what we're playing section. And next, for what we're looking forward to this week, in video games, I just have 3 quick things. Excited to play UFO 50 some more. I've already talked about that a little bit, but so much more to discover there. I've only played like 5 of the 50 games, so that'll be fun. The new Zelda game just came out. I'm excited to try that. I don't know if I'm going to buy it right away. I might wait for it to get a few, patches, because just even though Nintendo releases games generally in a good state, like they're not broken, I just feel like it will probably help the frame rate and how the game performs. Playing these, games on a Switch that's like 7 years old at this point can be a little brutal sometimes, but looks fun. I like the 2D, well, not 2D, but like kind of top-down Zelda vibe, so that should be fun. And then last up, Balatro just launched on Apple Arcade today. So if you have Apple Arcade, download that. It's amazing. I've got it on my phone. I don't know that I'll play it there, but I'm going to put it on my iPad and play the crap out of it. So play Balatro. Any video games that you're excited to play this week, Devin?
I'm gonna find every secret in Remnant, and then I look forward to Silent Hill 2 remake next week. Is that next week? Something like that.
It's close. I think it's the first week of October, maybe the 7th or 8th. I can't remember the date, but that sounds about right. So yeah, that's very soon. That's cool. Hopefully that does pretty well. Hopefully the game's good, because it's kind of been,
I agree,
up and down with some of the trailers. People have been like super excited, but some of the first ones people are like, ugh. So hopefully
I hope it's not trash, because they're going to be more than willing to charge me $60 for it. So
yeah, for sure. As far as board games are concerned, I just showed the expansion I got for Compile, so I'm excited to try that again. And then I'm just excited to play Andromeda's Edge some more. We meant to play this when you came over, Devin, but just kind of ran out of time. And yeah, it's a excellent, but quite a bit bigger and longer and more complex game than the two that we played, Compile and Sky Team. But super cool. The box is like 20 pounds, has some really cool pieces inside, has that sci-fi toy factor where you're pulling out these giant spaceships that look really cool. But behind all of the cool artwork and miniatures, there is a really cool and solid Euro game. It has a little bit of dice rolling combat and stuff too, but there's kind of an engine building game in there too. Very fun. I've only played it once so far, but I'm going to record a solo playthrough soon, I think, and play it quite a few more times, because I want to get a review up on the channel. Since this game's so popular, if I could get a review out sooner, that generally would help it perform better. So we'll see, but that's probably the board game I'm most pumped to keep playing. All right, next up we've got the news. There's only a few items of news this week, but one of them is kind of a big one. PlayStation had their State of Play. Oh, when was that? On Tuesday, I think. And I don't think we'll go over every single item, because there's quite a few. If you want to see every detail, I'm sure you could find a blog post or scrub through the video. But a few things I want to highlight. At the beginning, they showed a new Astrobot DLC that will be coming out this fall. It's a free speedrunning pack. So there's 5 new levels, 10 new bots. And then the director of the game talked at the end and said that they've got much more surprises coming with Astrobot, which is good to hear. Excited about that. I don't know, the first few here are kind of cool, so we'll go over the first couple, but then a game called The Midnight Walk. I want to give that one a shout out. It looks like this cool, creepy claymation kind of world where you're playing as this little guy with a pot on his head with a little flame on it, it seems like. And you can play it on PlayStation VR or on PlayStation 5. Very creepy world. Looks like Tim Burton kind of vibes for sure. So hopefully it's good. The team's first game, Lost in Random, I played about half of, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I don't know. I think it could be a winner. That one comes out next year. And then the next one I thought looked really cool. It's called Hell Is Us. And it is a... I think you might have gone a little too far, Devin. You're on Metro Awakening. Or maybe you're not. Maybe I have them in the wrong order. But anyways, Hell Is Us is a sci-fi Souls-like game. Yeah, you're in the right spot. I just need to stop talking. You know what you're doing. You're playing as this guy who kind of looks like a Norman Reedus with like a rain poncho on in Death Stranding with this robot on his shoulder. But it's not Death Stranding. It looks like Souls-like combat in this weird sci-fi world. You're fighting these white human-looking ghost things with their faces removed, and I don't know. I really like the sci-fi vibe to it. I know not even very little. I know nothing else about the game other than this trailer and the name, and that is being published by Nacon. So hopefully it's cool. I would love like a sci-fi Souls-like to be a hit. There was one called The Surge that people I think liked. It even got a sequel to Surge 2, but I never got around to playing that, either of those. And I think Mortal Shell was another one that was kind of sci-fi, but this one's a little more sci-fi vibe than those. So anyways, looks pretty cool. Hell Is Us. Okay, I don't know that there's too much more. Pal World, they announced it was coming out today. There's a remaster collection for 2 PlayStation 1 RPGs called Lunar. So the Lunar Remastered Collection comes out in the spring of next year. There was a new trailer for Dragon Age the Veilguard where they fought a dragon. I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday too, Devin. I don't think this game looks good for some reason. It's probably just because I've never played a Dragon Age game, and so I'm not really the audience. But I don't know. I like fantasy, I like Lord of the Rings, but the fantasy here just seems like uber cheesy. Every time they say a sentence, I'm just like, man, that was that was something that you just said. This dragon could be cool, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling the vibe for some reason, but maybe I hope I'm wrong, because it would be really good for BioWare to have a big hit. They haven't had a big hit in a while, so if this game doesn't hit, I think that'd be really bad for them. New DLC pack for Alan Wake 2 comes out in October. They showed just a few images from that. It's called the Lake House. I think it's part of that 3-piece DLC pack that they showed a few months ago, and the first pack has been out for a little bit. Another remaster collection people are excited about, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered is out on December 10th. I've seen the box cover of these, but we never had these growing up, so I've never played one, but I do like a good action platformer from back in the day, so once this game's on sale or something, I'll probably try it. But he is a weird looking dude with his his stomach missing and wings, it looked like. Not really sure what's going on, but people are pumped about that one. Kind of indie horror game next from, I can't remember if it's Blumhouse Games or Bloom Games. Blumhouse Games. Called Fear the Spotlight. And they gave this game a PlayStation 1 kind of tinge to the graphics. But it does look fairly creepy, so hopefully that one will be good. I think it's hard to make a good horror game. But Blumhouse does good stuff in movies, so hopefully they can continue to do pretty well in games. A couple smaller things. This game was called Towers of Agazba, and you're visiting other players' islands and building out kind of a town and farms, and here you're swimming for a minute. It was hard to tell the vibe. There's some weird creatures. And yeah, I don't know. That one looked a little odd to me. It's going to early access in November. They showed a couple things Fortnite related. Lego Fortnite is getting a split screen mode in November, so you can play that mode on the same unit console as your friends. And there is a Fortnite DualSense controller in this kind of light blue with graffiti kind of art on it with the banana dude and the fish dude. Let's see, a couple other things. Dynasty Warriors Origins got a release date for January 17th, and then Monster Hunter Wilds is the bigger one. It had a pretty big trailer in there, a couple minutes at least. And it got its release date as well, February 28th, 2025. I'm guessing this game's going to be huge. I've still never tried one, and some of the writing and localization seems a little weird from the dialogue in the trailer, but maybe in context of the game it'll probably make a little more sense. But the monsters are really cool looking. Having never played one of these, it's hard for me to imagine can it be that enjoyable to fight something that big, where if that was a real creature it would just instantly smash you and you would die. That's kind of a theme in a lot of video games. I'm nitpicking a little bit, but I probably just need to try one of these. I've only tried a little bit of Wild Hearts, which first couple hours was kind of fun, I thought. So maybe this is a genre that I would like. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. February 28th for Capcom's probably next biggest game, I would imagine, since Monster Hunter World did so well. Okay, couple other things. Oh yeah, Sony announced the PlayStation Plus games for October, which is cool. Before we go to that, Devin, you're in a good spot. Just stay where you are.
Okay, I'll just stay.
Release date for Lego Horizon was announced. for November 14th. Game looks very pretty. Probably like the most beautiful Lego game I've ever seen. It looks like the Lego movie with Chris Pratt. Like, it gives me those vibes and like almost the same level of quality. And like sheen on all the pieces and stuff. Has some cool PlayStation costumes. Ratchet and Rivet and Sackboy. So I don't know. Could be a fun one. I like a good Lego game. I wonder if it will... I don't imagine it will review quite as well as like Astrobot, but I don't know. Cool initiative at least that they're putting it on PlayStation and on Switch as well. Okay, then they announced a remake. Well, a remake's not the right word. A remaster for Horizon Zero Dawn, which I think came out in 2015 for the PlayStation 4. And this version is a $10 upgrade if you own Horizon Zero Dawn. And the goal was to get it to the same level of like facial capture fidelity and just general prettiness as Horizon Forbidden West, which I think is a cool initiative to bring it up because you could definitely tell a difference between the two. Like Forbidden West's facial capture is a lot better. So I think that's cool. The way that they've given the upgrade path is nice. Yeah, it would have been nice as a free upgrade, but that's probably asking too much. I'm sure this took quite a bit of work. They did mention they had to refilm like a bunch of the dialogue sequences so that they could redo the face work. So I imagine it wasn't like a small task just to put this on PlayStation 5. So anyways, that's pretty cool. October 31st for that one. So same day as Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and as Halloween. Okay, after that, they showed that the October PlayStation Essential games are WWE 2K24, Dead Space, which is an excellent game to have in October. Just an awesome remake. I'd never played the one on PlayStation 3, but this one on PlayStation 5, super pretty, very scary, pretty gory and graphic. But so if you like horror movies, I think you'll like this game a lot. I really, really enjoyed it. I was surprised that I'd forgotten about this game for so long, I guess, since I'd never gotten around to it, but it was really good. I loved playing it. Probably like a year ago now, but really, really great one. And then Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, which looks like a Japanese visual novel, and I think it is, but I have heard it has kind of a crazy, maybe even halfway horror-themed twist. So if you want something more that fashioned or that direction, there's that as well. And then 2 more games were announced. Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, and Dino Crisis are coming to the premium tier. They just said soon. Those are PlayStation 1 games, I believe. And then The Last of Us Part 1, which is the PlayStation 5 version of The Last of Us, kind of remade from the PlayStation 3, and then the PlayStation 4 version. For some reason, this is the 3rd version they've had of this game, but it does look very pretty. It's on the extra tier right now. So anyways, that was a lot of stuff. Then they showed 3 new colors of DualSense and PlayStation 5 covers in the Chroma line. Got Chroma Indigo, Pearl, and Teal. Which of those 3 do you like the best, Evan?
The white one.
Okay, so you like the white one. I think I kind of like the teal one, but that white one is probably I wouldn't mind any of those 3 colors, to be honest. I think they're pretty snazzy. Anyways, if you like those, you can pre-order them on October 3rd. Next up, we got Mark Cerny and his amazing hair. I don't know why they let him out in public looking like that, but when you're as smart as him, I guess they just let you do what you want. I generally really like Mark Cerny. He's a sharp guy. He explains things well, but that hair is something else. Anyways, he just talked a little bit about what PlayStation 5 Pro, which games it's going to enhance, and they had a couple more games to announce that are going to have those Pro patches. I think the new ones were Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Dragon's Dogma 2, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and Resident Evil 4, and Village. All right, then we're at the end of the show, basically, and they show one more thing, and this one more thing is a pretty big one. Pretty big showing for one of their state of plays, which they usually only show their big games like this at what they call a showcase or like a bigger event. So it was kind of cool they ended with this. It's the sequel. I don't know if sequel is the right word, because I think it's like a standalone and not a continuation of the same story. It's actually hundreds of years later. But it's Ghost of Yotai. Yotai. Not Yotai. Ghost of Yotai, the semi-sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, with a female ghost protagonist. I think her name was... Dang it, I had it pulled up and now I can't remember. Atsua? You know what? I don't remember. Ghost of Yotai protagonist name. It's Atsu. I was close. I just mixed up the S and the T. Atsu, a female Ronin. Very pretty, cool looking trailer with that big Mount Yotai kind of as the backdrop. Like that scene right there is just like really cool. So I hope that the game, and I imagine it will because they did such a good job in the first one, will kind of retain the feeling of like grand sweeping landscapes, and there's not a lot of HUD elements, and we show you things through like where to go through the wind as opposed to like an arrow pointing you somewhere. So I really liked the first game. I didn't ever finish it. I know you did on stream. Did you enjoy that first one, Devin?
I remember that I enjoyed it, and I think I enjoyed it the most because they had a mechanic where specific enemies, for example, if someone is holding a shield, you want to use a different stance to...
Right.
And that was super cool. Like they had 4 different stances, so based on if the enemy was heavy or light or fast or had a shield or this or that, you would want to change stances mid-fight to actually have a chance of winning.
Yeah, I remember that is a cool system. It was a little tricky to change stances too, like mid-fight, because you had to like hold the trigger maybe or push something on the D-pad, but that is a cool system. Very pretty game. Comes out in next year, 2025. So hopefully that will be an awesome continuation of that franchise. They did also say they're like working on a movie and some other side projects. So it seems like Sony and Sucker Punch are all in on this Ghost of world. So, which I'm okay with. So I don't know. I thought that was a pretty good state of play, to be honest. There were quite a few like smaller things that are indie little things that make David excited, and then there were some like medium-sized things, a couple of things that were maybe skippable, but that's fine, and then a big solid ending in my opinion. So I don't know, I thought that was a pretty solid state of play. In other news, one of the other most talked about items this last week was a few different media outlets like IGN and other places got to go hands-on with the PlayStation 5 Pro, which has been quite a big talking point since it's $700, doesn't come with a disk drive. It does come with 2 terabytes of storage, which is nice. And is this thing going to be worth it? Like worth the cost to upgrade? And the best in the business are the guys from Digital Foundry. They're the very best at like knowing all of the technical details of like what are comparable PCs and like what visual effects are we seeing on the screen and like ray tracing elements and anti-aliasing. They're like the kings of all this stuff. And they put out a video kind of their experience, and they, I think, maybe had a guest or somebody on as well who got some official footage from Sony, and they like go through all of it for 11 different games. So if you want to know about any of that in more detail, you can watch that. And there's a lot of notes here in the document. I'm not even going to read more than a couple. But it looked like for probably like 7 or 8 of the games they demoed, they thought the upgrade was incredibly like impressive and well worth like an upgrade at like high end of PC quality. And then for a couple of the games, they said, yeah, it looked better, but not kind of to the extent of the others. So I don't know. It seems like people were kind of upset at the $700 thing when it was announced, but then when the 30th anniversary model was shown, everyone's like, wow, I want that. And then with these previews starting to come out, and they're generally positive from like tech experts who are in the know, I think like the opinion on this thing is starting to change a little bit. But anyways, if you want to know more about that, watch Digital Foundry's video. They are excellent. But yeah, those also went up for pre-order this morning with all of the 30th anniversary stuff. I didn't even hop in the queue. I know some people struggled to get some, other people didn't have really an issue. So it'll probably be a little crazy to get a Pro for a little bit, I would imagine. Got scalpers putting them on eBay for like $10,000 right now and stuff. So especially that like 30th anniversary gray one that looks really cool. But anyways, if you want to know more about that, watch that video. All right, I think that's... oh, no, one more thing, actually. I just want to give a shout out to a game I'm hoping to play sometime soon. This is Space Marine 2, the Warhammer game. It supposedly has had a really good launch. And I think one of their directors or developers gave an interview and said that they're like really proud of the launch and that so many people have been enjoying the game. And they're already confirmed that they're working on either DLC or a full sequel for this game. I have only heard good things. It's supposed to be excellent. Has like a full like suite that you would remember from like Halo, for example. It has like a campaign and a co-op separate mode in the menu, and then like the online multiplayer section in the menu. There are like 3 different pillars, which is very much like a old kind of style of like a game menu. But I know a lot of people have said like it's really refreshing. Like have a game that has like a somewhat short, like 8 to 12 hour campaign, and then has like really fleshed out multiplayer modes, and it's kind of segmented, and you buy the game once, and I don't have to worry about like being sold, I don't know, God of War skins in Fortnite or something, you know. So I don't know. It's got a lot of buzz. Wanted to give him a little shout out. It is one I want to play. It's supposed to be very fun, but very violent, you know. Make sure you're okay with that level of violence. And then last up, Netflix showed just a tiny little snippet, I think a teaser trailer, for their new Splinter Cell animated TV series. And I think Liev Schreiber is voicing Sam Fisher. I think he'll do a good job. He does good work. I believe he does the voice of Kingpin in the new Spider-Verse movies. I think that's who does his voice. So he's familiar with animation. It would have been nice if they would have gotten the same actor whose name is now escaping me. Who does Sam Fisher voice actor? He's a pretty famous guy, Michael Ironside. He didn't pass away, did he? No. Yeah, he is kind of like an iconic voice. Yeah, he's not dead. So, anyway, so I don't know why they did that, but hopefully Liev Schreiber can pull that off, and hopefully that will be a cool show. And hopefully this video won't get hit with a copyright strike because we put the little snippet of the trailer in. That's been the thing generally that has gotten us in trouble, but wanted to put it in, dang it. All right, that's it for video game news this week. I think Tokyo Game Show is going on, and Xbox is having a little showcase there, so if there's anything good from that, we'll talk about it next week. In board games, there are 2 bits of news before we get to Crowdfunding Corner and then wrap up the show, since we've been going for a little while. And credit here to Board Game Wire. They do like excellent board game journalism with like scoops and research and actually getting interviews and like finding good stories. And this first one I thought was really cool. Splendor, one of the most popular board games of the last 20 years, has officially sold 3 million copies, which, when you're talking about video game numbers, doesn't sound like a ton, but in the board game world, that is a massive number. And the whole thesis of this article is that the game had sold 100,000 units in 24. Oh, sorry, this game's about 10 years old. Sorry, in 2014 when it came out, Then by 2020, it had sold 1 million. And then the game launched on Board Game Arena, where you can play it digitally online. And I think it's probably one of the free games that anyone can just play. And 6.5 million games of Splendor have been played on Board Game Arena. And the sales have just kind of even more started to slope upwards since that launch, which is a very interesting idea. And makes me probably understand the logic behind one of the first news items we mentioned that Altered, the brand new trading card game, is fully playable on Board Game Arena today when the game's just launching to retail. And that's probably why they want people to get in there, try it for free, try it online, play as much as they can, and then go buy, a version they'll play in person. Interesting idea. So Splendor, 3 million copies sold. Hooray for Splendor. It's a pretty fun game. I've played this standard version and the Marvel implementation, which is slightly more complex, just barely. Good games. Not like a game I want to have in my collection, but I think it's a good engine building kind of game. So wanted to give that a little shout out. And cool idea. I actually played a match of Altered today since it was on Board Game Arena. And I've been thinking about, is this a game I want to try? And so I signed in, played a game with one of the 6 starter decks that they have on there. And they have like a tutorial that teaches you how to play just by like showing you on the screen, like this is what happens here and here and here. So it was really nice. You don't have to read a rule book or anything. I was ready to play in 5 minutes, played a game in 15 minutes. So in a 20-minute time, I learned how to play and played a full match and won. So, that makes you feel pretty good too. And it's a pretty cool game. You put cards out to like 2 main lanes that you're fighting over. And then at the end of the round, those cards go into this reserve area. It's kind of a section of the board between your hand and the lanes. And then you can play them from your reserve back to those lanes once before they go to your discard pile. So cards can kind of get in twice. You do have to pay mana or like action points to play cards in this game. And some of the cards are like 3 mana when you first play them, but if you play them from reserve, then it's only 1 mana. Or sometimes it's flipped, like 1 mana first time, but then if you play it from your reserve, it's a 3rd time. It's a cool system because they kind of bounce in and out. I liked the play, so I don't know. I might want to try Altered. That's not what this story was about, though. So congrats to Splendor. All right, last up, again, Board Game Wire, excellent reporting and interviews here. They had an interview with Patrick Leader, who is the, I think, founder of Leader Games, who I'm a very big fan of. Root is one of my very favorite games. I'm super pumped for the Root expansion we've talked about a few times, including in this episode. Arcs should be here within the next few weeks. I've already played it a couple times digitally, and it's very fun. Love their games. I think they're very unique, and they kind of have like a gravitas at Leader Games now, where like everyone's watching them. They're like the kings kind of the industry. There's some other like really prestigious companies too, but they're kind of in a league of their own. Anyways, Board Game Wire has an interview with them, and a few cool things have come out of it. Sounds like they are in the early stages of talking with a company to make a video game based on one of their IP, which is really cool. I'm going to read this quote from Patrick. He said, "We got a really cool pitch for a video game based on one of our IPs. It's not a board game adaptation, but it's a video game set in that space." And I wrote them back right away and said, yeah, let's talk about this. So they're going to send us a more formal pitch deck next week. It's at a budget where I'll probably be the one producing it too, so I'm kind of excited about that so I can diversify my portfolio a little bit, end quote. Anyways, that would be really cool to have a video game based on one of their IP. I hope it's based on Root or Arcs. I think those worlds are really, really cool. I mean, Oath would be a cool one too. I don't know. Cool idea there. They also said that they, I guess Board Game Wire broke a story last year that there was a movie in the works based on Root, which would be really cool as well. So I'm going to read this quote. Board Game Wire quoting themselves a little bit. Board Game Wire exclusively revealed in May last year that plans were afoot for a movie based on Woodland Warfare board game Root. But that process was on hold amid the mass walkouts of Writers Guild of America members striking to improve pay and conditions, end quote. Supposedly, the writers from the Kung Fu Panda series, Ben Meckler and Chris Amich, were kind of the ones heading that, and the pitch is back in play now, but it's kind of moving slowly. Also would be very cool, a Root movie. I'm like 2 down. I think the animals in that game are like super unique and cool factions. I really love Kung Fu Panda as well. I don't know why. That DreamWorks series has always been a hit with me, so that would be fun. I kind of hope that this doesn't end up being like an Illumination movie, who seems to do almost all of the animated movies nowadays, with Minions and the Grinch and the Lorax. Even though I kind of liked the Mario movie, I'd love for a different team than Illumination to do the Root movie, but that's cool. And as the third thing, they said they're probably going to be able to get this next portion out quicker, and that would be based on comic books. They said that it's smaller budgets, so it's a little easier to get off of the ground. So anyways, I thought those were cool things. I love Leader games. Their games are really cool, sometimes hard to get to the table because they're so unique. You really need to, after you play them the first time, you need to play them a bunch of times, quickly, so that you don't forget the rule set, so that the rules just kind of can grip in your brain. And some people I know that they get Root and then that's all they play for a couple years. So their games are pretty special over there. So anyways, cool stuff there. All right, Devin, last section this week. We're going to go over some board games that are in crowdfunding, ending in about the next 2 weeks. I think the last games here end on October 10th. So you've got 5 to 13, 14 days to check these out if you want to. So we'll go through these 8 games kind of quickly, give our picks of the week, and then we're just going to wrap this one up. First up, Puerto Rico is a very famous game that came out, I think, 20 years ago. It was the #1 rated board game on Board Game Geek for a long, long time. It's not now. I think it's in the 40s. I watched a gameplay video for this one. I don't have Puerto Rico. I've never played it, but it did seem like it has some pretty cool game mechanisms in the game. And this remake kind of takes all the expansions and stuffs them in, some new content as well, and it adds deluxe components. So if you're really into Puerto Rico, this is the ultimate version. But if you already have Puerto Rico and you don't really care about the new fancy plastic pieces, then you're probably okay. This is done by Awaken Realms. They do the huge games. Devin, we talked about Grim Coven a few months ago. Same company here. They do really big games, lots of add-ons and lots of minis, lots of okay, here's the game. Even in this, this is a Euro game, so much different than Grim Coven. Even in this one, it's, okay, here's the base game. Then if you want the deluxe version, it's a $50 bigger box, so you have to add on. And then if you want the city pack that adds all these big city miniature pieces, it's another box. Just kind of crazy, but I know people like them. They did the Castles of Burgundy super deluxe version, and that one was a big hit. So I think this one is also performing really well. Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot more to say about it. Again, I watched a video and I thought the gameplay looked pretty cool. You choose a tile that is your action for the round, and based on the one you choose, everybody else also gets to do some slightly lesser version of that action. And I like that follow mechanic where everybody gets to do something on a turn. Feels good not to just have to wait forever for it to get back to me. But other than that, it seemed fairly straightforward. You're selling stuff, buying stuff, building buildings on your own plantation. Anyways, That one ends on October 3rd. Has quite a few different pledge levels. I think the base one without like the big city plastic miniatures and without the plastic boats is like $60. And if you want like everything, you're like over 100 and close to 150 if you want the play mats and the metal coins and everything. So that's kind of the idea there. That one's on GameFound. All right, next up is Tom Mary, I think is how it is pronounced, from a company called Postscriptium. And this one kind of gave me Gizmos vibes, which is a game I actually just got recently. I still haven't played it though. But the main comparison point there is it has a big like marble like tower kind of thing where you drop marbles in the top and then they will fall out in some randomized fashion. In this game, those marbles represent the weather and kind of the inconsistencies of the weather. It might be rainy or it might be dry. And I think there's one more. I think silt is one of them. It might be very silty, whatever that kind of weather means. But when those marbles go in those 4 different lanes, they kind of determine what actions and things you can do along those portions of the river. And yeah, I thought that was a cool looking effect. You're also placing cards in like a row, and if you're able to match symbols, then you get to do some bonus actions. And so I like it when I like having my own player board in a game, but I do like it when there's like a central board that everyone is like focused on, and there's lots of like interaction points. Like, okay, you put this there, and if I put this thing there that has a symbol on it that matches the symbol you just played, like that's a good feeling as well, to kind of, that way you feel a little more invested in what everyone else is doing on their turns. So anyways, I thought it looked pretty solid. It has like again, like most of these games do, a more standard version. And then it has a fancier version that has this little like marble tower that you dump them like into the pyramid in the middle, and like wooden pieces instead of cardboard. But I think even this basic version looks pretty cool. Those marbles just remind me of the marbles in Gizmos. So, and even in Gizmos, they have these little cardboard circle things to hold your marbles, just like those 3 cardboard holders right there. But yeah, it looks pretty fun. I think this is a game that I would enjoy. It doesn't look overly complex. I'd say medium weight, probably around high 2s would be my guess. But it looks like a pretty good time to me. That one is also on GameFound and ends on the 8th of October. Okay, next up is a very quirky one, but it was designed by Maxime Tardif, I think is his name. He's the gentleman who designed Earth, which won tons of awards last year, I think it came out. And this is Rayman, the board game. And man, I really love like the art in the newer Rayman games that this is based on, Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends. They are just excellent 2D platformers with some fun like music levels and platforming, finding secrets. You have to find these little trapped teensies all throughout the levels. And yeah, there's a pretty simple and light game. It's a race. First one to make a lap around the board, and in that lap has saved 3 teensies, wins. So you're playing cards down, and those cards have different movement values on them. They might say you can jump up to a platform, or you can run forward, or you can smack. And if you smack and you're next to one of the other players, you push them backwards a little bit. You smack and you're next to a trapped teensy. That's how you save one of them. So it's a pretty simple game, at least mechanically, just by playing those cards. And then it has a ton of these like add-on miniatures that you can add. Even the base version, though, I think is $50. It does come with the 4 main miniature figures. I think I don't remember all of their names, of Rayman and his 3 buddies. But then if you want like 20 more figures in 3 different outfits and stuff, or you want a figure that's 4 times as big, then there are those too. So you can get a lot of bonuses and extras in the game. But I don't know. It could be a fun little jaunt. I'm very picky with race games too, because I feel like they can be kind of boring at times. Like, okay, I play this card, I move forward 2 spots. And you play that card and you move forward 3 spots. This one looks like it has a little more zaniness and chaos going on than I would probably prefer. I'm more in the camp of something like Heat behind me, which is has a little bit of randomness with the card draw you get from your deck. But there's a lot of strategy in, like, do I take some Heat cards, and when do I play this card? Do I blow past that corner knowing I have to spend some extra Heat? Where this looks quite a bit lighter, and probably something you could play with kids pretty easily, I would imagine. But I think it's doing pretty well. Scroll back up to the top, Devin. We'll just see how well it's doing. Yeah, 206,000, 1,500 backers. So yeah, not too shabby. Anyways, that's Rayman the board game. This one's on Kickstarter and ends on the 8th. Okay, next up is a double feature, and this is from Garphill Games. They make so many games over there at Garphill. I don't know how they do it. I have one of their games right here behind me. It's called Architects of the West Kingdom. And it's a really great worker placement game. It was the first game in the West Kingdom series, which is a trilogy that they've now finished. And that trilogy came after, I think, the North Sea trilogy that they've also finished. And now after the West Kingdom trilogy, they have another trilogy that I can't remember the name of that I think might also be done. And this is a side story. I also have Hadrian's Wall back here. And anyways, I don't know how they make so many games, but they are also one of the most loved kind of publishers, at least for like more strictly like Euro games. The 2 games they have here are Skara Brae and the Anarchy. Skara Brae is a bit lighter. It's kind of a resource management game where you're playing as the leader of a tribe thousands of years ago, and you have to gather resources, and some of those resources are kind of funny ones, like things you wouldn't think would be valuable, like bones and stuff like that. And then you're using them to build out, I think, kind of your village. But the place that you store your resources is kind of this like central storage room. And if you fill it up too much, some of your resources, I think, start to create more and more waste. So you have to be really like tight and careful with how much waste you're creating by storing too many resources. Cool idea. I think the game looks really fun. The other one, the Anarchy, is quite a bit heavier and more complicated. And it's kind of like a halfway sequel to Hadrian's Wall, which is one of the most complicated. Well, complicated isn't even the right word, but it is heavy, and which is another word for complicated. So I don't know what I'm saying. Long, thinky, roll and write games. Like it takes like 45 minutes to an hour to play. You have 2 sheets, and they are both just full of things that you're crossing off. Like get a resource, and that helps you build up the wall over here, and then you're fighting off dudes over here, and it's very complex. I like that kind of thing. I generally like my roll and writes to be shorter experiences, but when I'm in the right mood, I think it's very, very cool. The theme in the Anarchy is that you have just taken over the kingdom when the king died, even though you were not supposed to be the heir. And the rightful heir is trying to attack you in the castle. So you have to defend the castle. And if you're able to do so, you win. Anyways, that was an oversimplification, but really cool components, beautiful artwork. It's kind of what they're known for over at Garphill. And yeah, you can get one or both of the games here in this pledge, and they'll deliver, I think, next June. And they have a great track record. I would have absolutely zero concerns backing one of their games. The almost all of their games come out to retail though, and so this is one I'll probably just wait on. And what are they, $93 for both games? So that's like $45 each. I will probably get them for like $30 each if I just wait. And they'll, next November they'll be in retail. So that's probably what I will do. But I know a lot of people love getting these Garfield games like immediately. So this campaign I bet is doing even better than Rayman, but that's probably a bold guess. Scroll up to the top, Devin. We'll see if I'm dead wrong.
246.
Okay, 246. 2,000, almost 2,100 backers with 13 days. So it is doing a little better. Anyways, I think that one looks cool. That one ends on the 9th. All right, 4 more games here before we end. This one's called Pantheon. And in this game, you are trying to... terraform's not the right word, but you're trying to kind of... what's the word? Like, manipulate the land. You're given this card, which kind of reminds me of a Codenames card. It has like a 4x4 grid on it, and you're supposed to keep it secret from the other players, I believe. And it says, okay, this is what you want the land to look like. But everyone else has one that's different than yours. And so you're moving your pawn around this 16 kind of board grid. Board isn't the right word. 16 tile board. Doing things like moving tokens around and eventually placing these big cards over those sand pieces in order to permanently kind of change the landscape. Looks I think it looks pretty like a well produced and is a pretty light and thoughtful game. I don't know that this one is necessarily for me. It's a bit of like, I just talked about loving a central board where everyone is doing stuff a little bit and competing, but this is like maybe a little too much of that sometimes, where I put something down and you immediately move it or remove it, which for some reason in a multiplayer game isn't always the best feeling to me. But yeah, lots of cool components here. You can get nice big miniatures, this cool 3-sided rock die. I don't know if it's actually made of stone. I doubt it, but it's resin actually. So it should look about like that. Cool idea. Anyways, I thought it looked pretty solid. Not exactly my cup of tea. I generally like a bit more of a Euro game where I can do a little bit of my own thing and you can't mess with it too much. Maybe a little bit, but not too much. But that is Pantheon on Kickstarter until the 10th. Okay, 3 more. March of the Ants. This is like a remake with new artwork of an earlier game called March of the Ants. Yeah, the Evolved edition. And it comes with a bit of new content and like I think a small expansion as well. This is what they call a 4X game, where you're generally trying to do 4 different things, and I forget what all the X's stand for, but it's like expand, explore, exterminate, and I can't remember the 4th one, but 4X is the name of that genre. So you play as the queen ant. Is that the right word? Or do ants have a queen? They do, right? Is it a queen?
I think so.
Okay. Queen ant leading your hive, and you'll send your workers out to explore. Sometimes fight with the other ant factions, or fight with some of the caterpillars and other bugs that are around. And then you're also trying to like upgrade your ant. You can put 3 different cards on your ant for like a head, a body, and a, what would you call that? Abdomen?
A butt.
The butt card. And those give you like different abilities for your hive and stuff. What was that? One of the main reasons I'm really excited for this game is because it was designed by Tim Eisner and Weird City Games. And I really like some of his other games. Canopy is one of my my wife's favorite games to play, 2 players, where you're building like this little canopy of trees and getting animal cards. So I like his designs. I think it kind of takes what is usually kind of a meaner looking genre, generally like sci-fi, like I'm going out and blasting your ships and stuff, and kind of a fun theme to put that on a little bit. Some of the bugs are a little creepy looking, but I don't know, it seems a bit shorter than a lot of other 4X games are, a bit more Euro influenced, and I like the change in theme to something a little more grounded. So I'm thinking about that one. That's March of the Ants, and it's on Kickstarter until the 10th. Next up is a collection of games called Ludos, and this company, whose name I am spacing on, Lemery Games, has done quite a few of these like collections. Basically, they like go to a country and find some games that have been played in that country for hundreds or thousands of years, and then like they don't remake them, they just basically publish them with like minimalist but clean and nice new components. And so this one is 4 different abstract games from Africa, and I think you can buy any one of them in like a little cinch bag, and I have actually backed one of their campaigns in the past, so I have a game called Bog Chal that comes in one of those little cinch bags. But if you want all 4 of the games, you can buy them, and they come in these little mini boxes, and those mini boxes slide into this bigger box, which is kind of a cool looking thing, because then that bigger box can fit on your shelf like a normal sized game, or you can just take out the bag or just one of the mini boxes. Just wanted, more than anything, just wanted to give this like ideology a shout out, because I think it's a cool initiative. I didn't love Bogchal. I think it's an okay game, and so I'm not saying that I would hate all 4 of these games by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just picky with abstract games as well, and so I need them to be a little more vetted maybe beforehand, which it is what they're doing, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, this one is on Kickstarter until the 10th, and again, very cool initiative. I just don't know if the games are necessarily for me. And last up is Emberleaf. This game is from West. What's the name of this?
Frank
West, and his company's name is like West. I can't remember. Is it City of Kings? No, that's the name of his first board game. I feel like the name of the company is something West. I don't know. I have Isle of Cats. You can see it right behind me right here. That's one of their other games, probably their most popular other game, and I like it. It's not my favorite game, but I think it's a good one. This game looks pretty fun. It has an interesting mechanism where they call it card dancing. So each player plays as one of these 5 factions. It's a little bit heavier than Isle of Cats, it looks like. It says 90 to 120 minutes. And with these different factions, you will be either playing a card down to your little player board or dancing, which basically means you slide all of your cards one spot to the left, and then any cards that have a slide ability will activate, and any cards that have a fall off ability, when they fall off the left side of your board, then that ability will activate. So you're kind of like rotating through your faction's cards. When you play them, you get their on play ability, and then when you decide to dance, you'll get those slide and drop off abilities. And those cards are letting you do things like move around on this forest board, build different buildings, get new heroes, and fight, I think, like clear out like some of the unwanted villains in the area as well. Yeah, it says walking gathering and attacking are some of the common actions that you can take. So I don't know. I think that what they call card dancing, it's not the most like innovative thing in the world, where you're putting a card down and then it, in some programmatic way, is sliding and activating. It sounds kind of fun though, even though it. I think they just came up with a new term for something that kind of already exists. But cool publisher, they make some good games. I like Isle of Cats. Has cool artwork. I don't know what it is right now. If it was Everdell or Root that kind of started this trend, or something else, but so many games are like, hey, you want to play as a mouse? You want to play as a little squirrel? Then
all
here you
the
go.
woodland creatures.
Yeah. I don't know. And I really loved like The Secret of Nim growing up. And so I'm like kind of into that, which is weird. But anyways, I think that one looks fun. If you want a medium weight Euro game with this strange kind of card dancing mechanism from a publisher that generally makes good stuff. That one is on Kickstarter until October 10th. All right, Devin, that was a lot of words I just said at you.
Great job describing all of them.
Thanks, my mouth's a little dry. While I take a sip of my drink, which of these 8 games gets Devin's pick of the week for the last week in September?
I would need to read a little bit more, but from what I'm seeing here, I choose this one, Emberleaf, for the artwork, a slightly unique mechanic that I don't think I've played with probably, and I did notice it had a solo mode too, which is kind of a plus for a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep, it does. And I like it when a game's able to get to 5 players. Sometimes that makes a game too long, but in some games it works just great. Like in the Isle of Cats, 5 works pretty well because a lot of the things you're doing simultaneously. So this is one of the top ones for me this week as well. I think that my pick of the week is going to go to March of the Ants. I really think Scarabray and the Anarchy look great, but yeah, I'm just kind of excited about 4X games recently because I don't really have like any of them. Andromeda's Edge is like kind of flirting with that a little bit. And I backed one just a few months ago that is a 4X game that'll be here, I think in March. And so it's a genre that I don't really have and that I'm thinking about a little bit. And I like the designer, I like the company and the games they've published before. And I like the look of this one. Even though I think if I stare too much at some of the bugs, they'll kind of make my skin crawl a little bit. But it's a fun, like a fun theme, and definitely they made some of the gross looking spiders like a little less creepy than they could be. So anyways, March of the Ants I think looks like a pretty solid game, so it's going to be my pick of the week this week. All right, and that is going to do it for Crowdfunding Corner here for the last week of September. Devin, we're at the end of the show. We don't have a closing segment. Is there anything that you want to talk about or say, I guess just in closing, before we call it here?
It's all game designers, makers, programmers. Make me some good freaking horror games before I lose my mind. Most horror games, in my opinion, are so below average as far as gameplay that makes me a very sad person.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're primarily talking about video games, I think, because I think in board games it's actually done okay. But yeah, in video games, I do think it isn't done very well. I think we've maybe talked about this like months ago. I'm really hoping that the Quiet Place game isn't terrible, but I don't have the highest of faith in it, so I'm not sure. We'll see. Well, whether it ends up just being Oddworld October for me or Horror October for you, I hope that we do find some killer horror games for you. What about that Chernobylite one that somebody mentioned? Is that a scary game?
I think that's free somewhere right now, isn't it?
I think it was
on Epic, or maybe maybe it was,
or maybe on.
I mean, I looked up reviews for it. It seemed fine. I don't know. Horror games for me, I just like the vibe and the aesthetic. I don't think every horror game that comes out needs to be the scariest game I've ever played. Like I love Little Nightmares because it plays well and there's enough little secrets to find and it's cute, but it's kind of scary in its own way.
Yeah.
But it's not going for you're possessed and there's an invisible ghost chasing you and it's so dark you can't see anything. And
right.
So I don't think it needs to be this cliche horror type game. I wish there was a focus a little more on making really good horror games, but I think I'm in a small niche of people who are just obsessed with the genre.
Yeah, I do think, unfortunately, it probably is a smaller group than it would need to be in order for more people to focus on it. And so I think usually what it kind of turns into is like, well, Call of Duty has zombies mode and that's scary enough, and The Last of Us has zombies and that's scary enough, and so we don't need to focus on an actual like horror survival horror game. But yeah, that is a tricky one. Well, I'll keep my eyes peeled just in case there are any either new ones or old ones that I feel like are worth your time.
Maybe I'll replay Dead Space on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah, that might be good here in October since it's on PlayStation Plus. It might have some extra like audience right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's going to do it here for our 6-month episode, episode number 26. Thanks so much for listening to and watching our show. Please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/SuperGameBrothers. That's how you can get the show 3 days early, get some extra episodes and videos, name in the credits, all kinds of goodies. Make sure to check out Devin on Twitch. He's Player 4. Also watch him on our YouTube channel or on TikTok. And hopefully you'll see him play some awesome horror games this month. But with that, we will get out of here and see you next week. So thanks again, Devin, for being here to chat with me, and we'll talk again soon.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
See ya.